I'm just like them, don't you see? I'm full of it. The same ugliness within them courses through my veins.
What if Light Yagami was the antagonist of Black Butler? What if he lived in Victorian-era England with the Death Note and wanted to eliminate Seal Phantomhive? Could Seal overcome the Death Note, or would he become another one of Light's many victims? Pour yourself a drink, or get yourself a little snack, or do both if you're feeling extra spicy. And without further ado, let's get into it. Light Yagami hates corruption, and uses his Death Note to eliminate those he deems as evil in order to make the perfect world. Seal Phantomhive embodies what Light hates. Seal has twisted morals, and acts mostly in his self-interests, harming anyone in his way, sometimes without need and with excessive cruelty. He has harmed many innocent people in his quest for vengeance, and this would make him a prime target for Light, who would see exterminating Ciel as a service to the world and a necessary step to creating a utopia. And I can't really blame him for that. As established in Death Note, Light would punish criminals and other corrupt individuals if he lived in England as he did in Japan. These actions would eventually become suspicious and garner attention from the Queen, who would then order Ciel as her watchdog to find out who or what has been causing these activities and to make it stop. Ciel, disgusted by criminals, would see this unknown person, Light, as a target whom he himself would want and need to eliminate. Ciel's greatest asset is Sebastian, a demon capable of almost anything you can imagine. He is extremely intelligent and a quick thinker, who can predict his opponent's moves, which makes him a tough opponent for Light, not to mention his physical capabilities. Ciel is also well guarded by his other servants. Light is also very sharp and capable of outthinking the best of the best, possibly on par with the demonic Sebastian. Light's father is the chief of the National Police Agency in Death Note, so he would likely be a high-ranking officer under the Queen in the Black Butler universe. As such, Light would be an aristocrat with ties to Ciel, making it easier for him to form a relationship with him through the Queen. Since using the Death Note on Ciel wouldn't work, he may try to befriend Ciel in an effort to figure out what his true name is. Though he doesn't know Ciel's true name, he could easily find out the names of the people closest to Ciel, such as Lizzie and her family, and attempt to use them as leverage against him to drop the case. In this situation, since Ciel works alone, the Queen would most likely not send Light's father to hunt him down, which would make it much easier for Light to hide the Death Note and focus his attention on taking down Ciel. Additionally, Light is not alone in his ideology. As seen in Death Note with characters like Teru Mikami, it is likely that there would be other people on Light's side whom he could convince to go against Ciel. If he gained a loyal follower like Teru Mikami, Light could use that person to get the Shinigami Eyes to find out Ciel's true name and eliminate him. However, his ability to delete people by simply writing down their names would seem like witchcraft, and showing his ability to others would be a highly risky move that I don't think he would take. Not only would Light have to find someone extremely loyal to the same cause, that person would also have to not fear witchcraft, so they would have to be an outlier in a highly religious society, which is unlikely, making this option nearly impossible for Light. Though Light could relinquish ownership of the Death Note to someone else, which makes the other person the culprit and clears Light until he regains ownership. And spending time near Ciel would near certainly clear him of any doubt after the decoy is caught. Light is very manipulative and has a higher-than-thou God complex, which leads to his arrogance in believing that he can overcome any obstacle. This is a great strength, since it allows him to think quickly and increases his confidence, which not only is a benefit itself, but also helps him in gaining others' trust. As a result, Light is perceived as very charming, and he can make friends quickly. He is also a fast problem solver and intellectually gifted, though he has a warped sense of morality. His immense self-confidence leads him to make serious mistakes that he wouldn't have if he wasn't so cocky, possibly leading to his downfall since he could become too obvious, and this could allow Ciel to figure out who is causing these problems and lead Ciel right to him, which is dangerous since Light becomes quite uncomfortable when confronted and is prone to making grave errors when he is caught off guard. However, Light's charismatic personality and his assumed connections for the position he would have in Black Butler would allow for him to form a bond with Ciel. One of the ways he can quickly gain Ciel's trust is by orchestrating a plot to harm Ciel by using the Death Note and saving him at the last second and sustaining injuries from it, since someone who wants a person dead typically would not risk his life to save his enemy, usually. If Light is able to gain Ciel's trust, as he has with many others, then even if Sebastian figures out who Light really is, Ciel may not believe him. Though Sebastian cannot lie, Light's manipulative and charming personality could convince Ciel that Sebastian is simply wrong, which creates distrust of Sebastian and Ciel, and at the same time solidifies Light and Ciel's relationship. At the same time, even if Sebastian finds out that Light is the culprit, he may not want to eliminate Light and may keep the information from Ciel. Sebastian is known to be a starving demon who only eats the souls of interesting people, and Light would definitely be one of those interesting people to him. As such, Sebastian may be inclined to keep Light alive for longer to cultivate his soul as he does with Ciel. Ciel is likely traumatized, and as a result, very determined to seek vengeance. Ciel shows underlying aspects of trauma and/or stress-related disorders according to both the DSM-5 and the National Library of Medicine. Ciel is also cunning and manipulative. He is talented at getting people to do what he wants them to do. He, like Light, is a very good planner and thinks ahead, though his childish immaturity can inhibit his intelligence. Ciel perceives life as a game. He does not care about his life, he only cares about getting his revenge, whereas Light does care about his life and wants to rule the world and to have a legacy. So, Ciel is not afraid of putting his life in danger to get what he wants, but Light is, which gives Ciel an upper hand since he is willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish his goals. However, Ciel is still a child and is incapable of doing many things by himself. He is also used to the lifestyle of wealth, and this lifestyle of comforts causes him to expect immediate gratification. He also has strong feelings of entitlement, and he lacks maturity, making him vulnerable to the effects of his own, often rash decisions. Light's greatest advantage, beyond his intelligence, is his ability to eliminate people quickly without leaving any evidence through the Death Note. His charismatic nature would allow him to potentially find people to use as his minions, making his job easier and protecting him from riskier actions. Light's charisma, combined with his manipulative personality, would make it easy for him to climb the Queen's ranks to get closer to Ciel. However, despite all of his strengths in being personable and a psychological manipulator, Light unfortunately still needs to abide by the rules of the Death Note, so he would need a name and a face, plus it only works on humans, so he could not get rid of Sebastian with it. Light would likely target Sebastian first to allow him to get even closer to Ciel, but he would fail, which would alert Light that eliminating Ciel is much trickier than it initially appears, making him more cautious for future attempts. Light would have to make sure to keep Ryuk away from Sebastian, since he is a Reaper, and I assume that Sebastian would be able to see him because of that. And if Ryuk didn't tell Light that Sebastian would be able to see him, Sebastian would be extremely suspicious from the beginning and possibly tell Ciel. To keep himself entertained though, Ryuk would most likely tell Light about the special circumstances about Sebastian to keep the fun going on longer. Additionally, Sebastian may be able to sense a Shinigami's presence off of Light from his possession of the Death Note, which could invalidate all of Light's attempts to seem innocent, though he may be able to play it off using his quick wit and his charm. Additionally, beyond the Death Note, Light's priority of protecting his life above all else would be an immense obstacle in his goal to eliminate Ciel. Since Light values living as long as possible, as mentioned before, he is not willing to take the large risks necessary to secure his victory. Unlike most of the opponents Light faced in Death Note, who followed and stuck to a strict set of morals, the opponents he would face in Black Butler have either no morals or extremely twisted ones. He would face different kinds of threats since many characters in Black Butler, especially on Ciel's side, are not afraid to play dirty to win. So Light would have to develop new strategies since he would not face a fair fight at all. Light would have a chance at taking down Ciel if he made the Shinigami ideal. However, Light's biggest downfall is his desire to live as long as possible, and would ultimately get in the way of accomplishing his goal. I believe that the Death Note's limitations would not determine Light's fate in this scenario. It would be his self-centered personality, which would allow Ciel Phantom Hive to beat Light Yagami. What do you think? Did we miss anything that could completely turn the tables? Or do you think the outcome would be completely different? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future, and let us know what your thoughts are on this new type of video. Again, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Goodbye!